Jujutsu Kaisen chapter 224. After all this time, we are here. Gojo Satoru versus Ryomon Sakuna. A fight that puts the Jujutsu in the Kaisen. For real though, what a time to be reading JJK right now. This chapter was epic. It had about 15 pages of just straight action and some very impressive flexes from both fighters. And the choreography was awesome. And this is just like the first opening battle, and there is a bit of depth to cover in this chapter, so without any delay, let's hop straight into this awesome chapter. Of course, we start the chapter from last week as Gojo proclaims that Sakuna is the challenger. However, now the trash talking has begun as Sakuna calls out Gojo instead, and naturally his arm is all healed up from reverse curse. Sakuna questions that, "I'm the challenger? You seem pretty pleased with yourself for only landing a surprise attack." And damn, Sakuna really called bro out for his cheap shot. But I like that Sakuna doesn't even acknowledge Gojo's claim, and this interaction speaks a lot about their ego as the strongest. Sakuna goes on to say, "You are but a fish atop my chopping board, Gojo Satoru. A bit fresher than others, but still just a nameless fish. Let's start by peeling those scales." And that is pretty sick. Sakuna does not have any equal, and at the moment, he's treating Gojo like a nice fish to prepare for eating. And you can tell that Sakuna is just so strong that it affected the way that he sees other people. Just anything is inferior to him, and he is far from human. That is insanely sick, but we expect nothing less from the king of curses. He has the overwhelming aggression that disregards all else. Gojo responds by mentioning why Sakuna still keeps that face. From what we know, Sakuna should be able to change to his four-armed, two-faced demon form like he had originally, but keeping inside Megame's body is more appropriate for today's sorcerers having that appearance. Gojo thinks that if he looks like Megame, then he's going to hold back. Unfortunately though, funnily enough, Gojo says that he's been doing some special training. I can't tell if this training has something to do with his new powers or Gojo's new mindset, but it's something to keep in mind considering we may actually see Gojo use new abilities. But in context with what he's saying here, it looks like Gojo isn't going to let his mind wander or his emotions take over, and he's going to fully focus on this fight. And since that it's Megame, he knows he can go all out. That's pretty gnarly since Gojo was probably more of a father to Megame than Toji ever was, and now he's going to have to kill him. It's actually kind of comedic to think Toji's probably rolling in his grave seeing Gojo, first of all, steal his outfit. I mean, he copied and pasted Toji's whole flow, his fit, everything. And now he's gonna kill his son too. I don't know how Gege made this funny, but it just is. Gojo also knows Sakuna managed to survive death once inside of Yuji's body, so he's just gonna have to worry about Megame after he kills him, and that's pretty cold, but that sort of mindset is necessary when dealing with Sakuna. So now, my brothers and sisters, we got it all set up. No mental baggage, no mercy, no fluff, no filler, no nerfs, nothing. This is Gojo Satoru versus 20-finger Ryomon Sakuna, the Jujutsu battle of all time. This is their chance to curse each other. So the fight goes off in full swing and gets right into the action. Sakuna goes in for a kick, but Gojo halts his attack with infinity and throws a punch that is parried by Sakuna as both fighters are shrouded in cursed energy. In the midst of their short fist fight, Gojo dodges and lies plank on the ground, hovering from his infinity ability. And it's mad unorthodox, but it's really sick. He motions his hand in a flicking motion and he sends Sakuna flying through the subway structure. And what I love about this scene is just how accurate the location is to real life. It's really cool. Just one quick search and you can really see where Gojo and Sakuna are fighting in real life, and that is so cool to me. But it looks like Gojo is actually utilizing or using a unique function of the Limitless curse technique, because it seems like he's forcing Sakuna to fly in the direction that he points. And it looks a bit more specific than how he uses blue to attract and warp space in that way, but it could just be how it looks. But he does use that same hand gesture again later in the fight. Sakuna is very impressed by how he was sent back, and it's really funny how he was just cooking Gojo, yet immediately he got sent flying. And better yet, Gojo quickly follows up with a stomping attack. Bro really tried to stomp out Sakuna, but it's actually mad crazy just how physically strong Gojo is with his cursed energy. Like, my brother must have been on Toji's workout plan or something, cause this is nuts. But Sakuna rolls out of the way between like 5 stomps, and on the final stomp, when Sakuna gets back up, Gojo slams a section off this bridgeway and breaks Sakuna's footing and causing the platform of rubble to float before it hits the ground and throws it into a nearby building with Sakuna still on it. This definitely looks like Gojo is like using a sort of unique telekinetic ability or using like the force or something crazy like that, but maybe this is a part of his special training. But since Gojo can already make himself fly or float, he just naturally could manipulate other things as well. That would make the most sense, but it's pretty unique. Sakuna escapes from Gojo's attack before it makes impact and is now running to Gojo and makes a finger gun motion to launch a default dismantle toward him. Gojo seems incredibly perplexed and is very surprised at seeing this, and it's hard to tell if Gojo dodged or if it just scraped off his infinity. But I feel like a detail like that would have been drawn more apparent here, like if dismantle actually hit his infinity, like we should have saw steam coming from it or something like that. But I'm surprised at how genuinely shocked Gojo is upon seeing Sakuna's technique. He even looks back to analyze just what it was, allowing Sakuna to get the jump on him and come in close. Now, Sakuna trying to hit Gojo is actually very interesting because Gojo is actively reacting and scuffling to Sakuna and his blows. But really, Gojo's Limitless was always one of the bigger factors in this battle, and it still is. Nothing has changed from that. Why is Gojo so attentive when Sakuna will never touch him? Because Sakuna's not using the wheel here, no domain or anything. The most likely tool Sakuna has to hit Gojo is domain amplification, which would neutralize his curse technique, so that means that amplification would bypass infinity. It wouldn't immediately bypass it because it has to overpower the curse technique first, like to pour into it, but it would start to clash with it like we do see here. It looks like Gojo merely just turned off Limitless for a brief moment or lowered the setting on it, because it seems like Gojo is using infinity more manually now instead. It kind of looks like when Gojo fought Jogo, there were instances where he chose to touch him and other moments where his infinity was used offensively. Like here, it seems there are moments where infinity or the neutral Limitless are not being used in Sakuna fight, but I still question why would Gojo ever turn it off in combat unless he just wants to mix things up. Sakuna should also know that he just will not get through Limitless. So that's why in my first read through, I actually thought he was using domain amplification in that way. But there actually looks to be some segments and sequences where burst energy reinforcement and just standard taijutsu are being used. So maybe like Sakuna said earlier about peeling off those scales, he's going to get a feel to see just what Gojo can do first before using techniques that can counter infinity. But I'll say I've never seen Gojo as shocked from a technique as to when Sakuna hit that dismantle. So Sakuna definitely has something going on more than what we're actually getting context on, because Gojo was really shocked when he saw that dismantle attack. When they both clash, Sakuna's cursed energy infused fist halts, but also the building Sakuna has slashed off, the top half, also halts as well, and it has the same sound effect that infinity has as well. So when Gojo shut down infinity or lowered it, he also dropped the building down on top of them, and they enter an insanely epic and very trippy scene of falling inside a hallway as the building is falling. Gojo grabs a nearby door to block Sakuna's view as they both wind up a cursed energy infused punch. But before we know what happens, before we know it, the building collapsed and destroyed the entire surrounding area. That was awesome. The way they flew through the building was glorious, and that's going to be such a sick scene when it gets animated. I can't even tell you. I'm just seeing it in my head already, and it's already peak cinema, and I trust Gege will just give us more panels like this. Once the building falls, 2 figures emerge from the rubble, and that is so badass. Gojo comments that he's gonna go ahead and blame all this damage on Sakuna, but Sakuna says he's not one to talk because he's responsible for it too. Gojo jokingly remembers that Megame is streaming their fight live on pay-per-view using her 4K bird vision or whatever. So now everyone can see that Gojo is causing millions in property damage, and there's definitely more to come because this city cannot survive this showdown between monsters. That ending scene was amazing because you can just see the level that these two are at and how they enjoy being among the strong. There is finally another person that can truly stand and with them at the peak of Jujutsu. I think that's why this scene is just so memeable, because they seem like friends here, but it's really that there's another person who proved that they are the strongest of all time. Hirozu mentioned Sukuna's loneliness, and it seems that Gojo could be the one to show him that he's not alone, to show him what that quote-unquote love is. This chapter was great. These monsters are just so incredibly casual about the insane feats that they have shown. Though this was definitely still a lot of Gojo hype, this chapter still felt like Gojo's chapter, you know? And Sakuna was mostly on the defensive or trying to get around Gojo's defense, but they both look extra clean though. Like they haven't shown anything yet. But I have a very strong feeling that we're gonna see Sakuna get his get back real soon. A technique reveal, lore information, feats. Sakuna is going to be extremely overpowered when he starts revealing his techniques. You know, like Maharaga, the Dharma Chakra, 10 Shadows, Buff Shikigami, Cursed Weapons, Shrine techniques. We are not ready to see the crazy shit Sakuna is gonna pull out. Like he's gonna cook. Real shit, he might actually cook something. 224 chapters and we don't even know what his curse technique is yet. Given all the context, you'd be crazy to assume that he's not going to get past Limitless. He's going to be the first person to specifically counter Gojo's abilities at full power, which naturally would mean that all of his techniques, his tools, and his relevant abilities should be competing on Gojo's level, if not even higher. It was crazy seeing Gojo just a little shook over a default dismantle attack. He saw something very abnormal in that, something that we need to get context on and need to know about. That's about it for this one, guys. Jujutsu Kaisen is going on break next week. You already know Gege going crazy after a break, but next time expect a video discussing this fight in further detail and what might happen during or after the battle in a theory video. I'd love to see these monsters do something like a Black Flash or something crazy like that. And let me know what you guys think as well in the comments below. But this has been Enemy Stand User, and I'll see you awesome guys in the next one. Take care.